Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our October Community Coffee Hour. We somehow find ourselves at the end of October already, which is just wild. We are so excited about today's topic, culturally relevant ways to mentor Latinx youth. And we have two amazing guest speakers with us this morning that you'll be hearing from in just a couple of minutes here. Some of you might know that this community coffee hour was actually scheduled for a couple of weeks ago, and we ended up postponing to kind of have better availability for our guest speakers. And so this was originally planned to be an event that was happening during Hispanic Heritage Month, which was from September 15th to October 15th. And we are now having this event outside of Hispanic Heritage Month. But I actually think that that is a really good reminder that we don't just talk about this topic when it's Hispanic Heritage Month or when we're reminded to based on events that are happening. And this is something that we should be talking about throughout the year. And so we're excited to be having this conversation today. And to get us started, if you can do some chat box introductions, we would love to know who is with us in this meeting today. So your name and pronouns, your mentoring program, and your role, and any other information that you might want to share with us so that we know who's with us. If you are not yet familiar with us, we are Mentor Virginia. We are a statewide nonprofit whose mission is to foster quality mentoring relationships that empower, elevate, and encourage young people. We have a variety of services that we are able to kind of achieve this mission through. We do trainings for mentors, mentees, and some internship supervisors as well. We have an AmeriCorps Vista program. We have several of our AmeriCorps members who are serving throughout the state with us this morning, which is always great to see. We have a no-cost consulting program that we call TA, and we also have a national quality mentoring system program that allows programs to see how they're doing in alignment with national best practice standards. So those are just a few of the things that we do. We have an amazing team with us, and we have some of these faces on the call this morning. We will be introducing Tamis here in just a moment, as she will be facilitating this conversation for us this morning. And we also have a lot of other faces as well who do a lot of boots on the ground work for us on our consulting team and on our training team. So these are all incredible people and expertise that we're able to tap into to fulfill the work of our mission around the state. And again, today's topic is mentoring Latinx youth in a culturally relevant way. So just in thinking about what brought you to this meeting today, are there any specific questions you hope to walk away having an answer to, or any practical things that our speakers might be able to speak to throughout the session? Feel free to put things in the chat as we go, and I will make sure that those get brought up throughout the session. We will have time for dedicated Q&A here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to pass things over to Tamis, who will get us started this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I cannot believe it's almost November, next weekend. It's crazy. So yes, like Sarah said, I'm Tamis Spencer Helms. I am the training and DEI manager here at Mentor VA. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, Rebecca Singhavong from Latinas Leading Tomorrow, and Lisa Zajur from the Virginia Hispanic Foundation. And so we're going to do, like we always do with our coffee hours, we're going to do a little bit of discussion. We'll go through some questions, but mostly just want you to hear from these wonderful people and what they're doing. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have you introduce yourselves. Lisa, just because you're first on my screen, I'm going to have you go first, and then Rebecca, you can go after that.
Okay, well, buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Zajur. I am the Executive Director of the Educational Programs for the Virginia Hispanic Foundation, and that was established in 2003, and it's the affiliate and educational arm of the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for being here. Rebecca, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Rebecca Singhavong. I'm a board member for Latinas Leading Tomorrow. I am also very passionate about working with the Hispanics. I am a Nicaraguense American, first born here in the US. My parents are from Nicaragua, so I'm happy to talk about this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you both. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's start with you, Rebecca. What would you say, what does culturally relevant mentoring look like in your specific program? How do you all walk that out? And Lisa, I'm going to ask you the same question.
So one of the things that is that we are very with mentoring when it comes to Latinas, we want to have role models, mentors, people who look like the students and can be more relevant, and also can, be able to kind of foster the conversations to be able to be more relatable. So that's one of the things that we definitely look when we're looking for mentors, is to someone who can kind of help kind of coach the students.
Lisa, what does culturally relevant mentoring look like for you all?
So we have, I created the Pasaporte a la Educación bilingual leadership programs for the students in elementary, middle, and high school. And so within our programs, we offer this global mindset of addressing negative stereotypes affecting how Hispanic students are perceived and how they perceive themselves. A lot of the "I'm not enough" comes out, I think, when within the students, and along with the issues some Hispanic students face and not belonging or fitting in within like the mainstream culture is what they're experiencing a lot within our programs, like in the school. So we try to address these, and or their own cultural heritage and traditions. And what we've looked at also is that a lot of times they may be speaking Spanish but not reading it and writing it. And so we try to look at where the student is culturally, coming from another country, and how we can help them where they're at so that they can progress forward.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. So what I hear you saying is, the ways that you kind of take a stab at culturally relevant mentoring has to do with a lot of language and education, whereas Rebecca, you're talking more about representation and relatability. But could you go into a little bit more kind of what your program does day to day with Latinas Leading Tomorrow?
So we have 3 programs. So one is an after-school program, is the core program. And similar to what Lisa said, is that we have, students, so we can range, we have in 3 different Arlington schools, and it could range between having the kids get a sense of belonging, right? Knowing kind of where they are, also being able to get them, elevating them to be able to get some leadership skills, right? To be able to get them exposure to other executives, Latinas executives, because I see that there's a gap in the school system. We don't have enough representation in the school system. So having this program is essential. We also have another program called Elite, and that one is a spring this year. Next year is going to actually be a fall program, and that's a leadership program. That one is about like personal branding. It's about resume writing, LinkedIn profiles, being able to give them that pitch. Because one of the things that we noticed with Latinas is that we are very shy about showing our praises and not having, not being able to like show off, the wins that they have. And even being as a student, you still have a lot to be, grateful for, or be able to say that you've accomplished, especially because, sometimes, you could be helping out the family. And that to me is a leadership, skill sets. So there's quite a bit of that, I actually I love that program. We actually, at the end of that program, we have Macy's, who provides us suits for the girls. So they actually get to have suits to wear for either college or either for, a job, right out of high school. Then we have the third program that we have is kind of the STEM program, is Latina Labs. And that one is to be able to get them exposure to, science, math, art activities. And that one's focused on middle school kids. Again, it's giving them access to leaders, and, these are doctors, these are, scientists, so they can see themselves into these roles.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that. Lisa, I have a question for you. So obviously the Latinx community is extremely diverse. And so when you're thinking about this in your work, do you have any thoughts on kind of matching and what types of mentors you might bring in related to the diversity within the community itself?
Oh, absolutely. Whenever we're looking for leadership coaches, we try to find coaches within the Hispanic community that we work with, specifically our partners. We work with a lot with the corporations. So all of them have their Latino organizations that they all get together within, like Dominion and Altria and so forth. And so they all normally sign up to be leadership coaches. And then we'll work with the business owners within the business community, members of the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And a lot of these are individuals who have started their business or are growing their business. And they're relatable to the students because they were these students that were sitting in that classroom, and maybe their English wasn't so good, and they totally can empathetically put themselves in the shoes of that student that they're mentoring, because they were that student. So it makes this really strong connection. And even if it's someone who speaks Spanish fluently, and you've been here, or you've experienced similar things, these are types of coaches that we look for that really can just connect with the student on their level.
You really nailed it. Honestly, Lisa, that's one of the things that we see. It's just having these kids to be able to be with people that they can relate to, because it's like you want to aspire to a certain role, and it's just having people to be connecting with them, to give them that exposure is key. So yeah, it's key.
Oh, I think you're muted, Tamis.
That's why. Okay. That's why no one had an answer for my question. Well, I'm hearing a lot of things about belonging, about exposure. I think I have a question in terms of Rebecca, something that you pointed out with the sort of the timidity and the ability to sort of translate these leadership skills. So when you're thinking about the types of mentors you bring on, or as programs begin to think about culturally relevant practices in the Latinx community, what would be the one or two things that you might say is necessary in terms of entering into that community or beginning to provide relevant work in those communities? Maybe just
it's definitely important to be bilingual. Obviously, it's definitely really important to be bilingual. But we've actually, fortunately enough, we've been around since 2004, so we're actually seeing kind of the full cycle. So some of these kids that started in the program now in their 30s are giving back. Either they're mentors, or they've been on the board, they're being on the board. We're seeing that kind of that full cycle. So they, again, back to what Lisa has said, they can relate to the students. They can relate to the struggles, relate to, trying to give them, that hope, that inspiration to be able to get them to elevate themselves.
That's helpful. Lisa, any things you might communicate to a program that is looking to kind of expand in this way?
I think we're encouraging the students to continue their education or find a skill set certification that somewhat inspires them, because this community can tend to drop out. I know, during COVID was horrid, especially I think Richmond Public Schools had a big challenge. 65% of the Latino students did drop out, and that was a big issue and still is, and entering in the workforce too early. So, and everyone has their reasons. A lot of the kids want to help their family, and because todo para la familia is everything for the family. And so a lot of times that responsibility might come on their shoulders. So, helping the students to look at, okay, here's some other paths that you could take that'll help your family more. If you stay in school, you'll be able to earn more money. So keeping these things in the forefront, I think, and be that resource to find the the unique needs and challenges the Hispanic students face, and that they have talent within them, and helping to bring out that talent. And you can't do that a lot of times unless you have these wonderful leadership coaches who step in and shows an interest in them, and shows they're this caring adult that really wants to help make a difference in their life. And, and that's what we tried to focus with on our programs, and, and help them face the hurdles. And I think the approach, to take is to help them to dream bigger so that they can fulfill their potential.
That's right.
Lisa, you're just so amazing. The things that you say, I swear to you, because I'll tell you, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So stats is like one of the biggest things, and Gabby, who is our co-chair for Latinas Eating Tomorrow, will know that I'm very passionate about that. So for Hispanics, our graduation rate is 36% for high school. And then when you go to bachelor's degree, it gets into the teens, right? Somewhere around the 17s. And then graduating with anything higher than that, master's or anything above that, is less than 5%, which is mind-boggling to me. Just mind-boggling to me. We have to do something about it. And it goes back to what you said, is resources, is giving these kids, these parents, knowing that there's resources. There's access to be able to get funding, is access to be able to, get the education. You're right. A lot of these kids are faced with, having to provide for the family, are very young, are asked to be able to help. I have to say that, for myself, I was I'm one of 5, right? I was, it was quite a bit of a lot of responsibility, me as a young child. That's why I'm very passionate about giving back to the community, because we need to have more people advocating for Hispanics and knowing and sharing knowledge, and, that there is resources.
I have a friend, her name's Ana Escabeta Cabral. And so she was the United States Treasurer of the United States. And the position she held was amazing. And her story is even more amazing because, like, as a young kid, she was so smart, so bright. And she actually was able to almost finish high school early because she was so smart. And she wanted to finish early only so that she could start to work and help her family. And her counselor stepped in and said, Anna, you can go to college. You can have so much ahead of you. Don't just go into the workforce right now. I'll help you get, everything organized and get into college. And she said, my parents aren't going to let me go to college. There's no way they're going to let me leave and go away and stay in a dorm. And because that's kind of normal, that, they don't really like, especially the girls, to go away. And everybody's different. It's a case by case scenario, but a lot of times within her family, this is how it was. And so she said her counselor came to the house, talked to her parents, and helped them navigate that she could go to college and get a scholarship, and they wouldn't have to pay anything. And she was so bright. And that career, that one decision right there, having a caring adult step in, made the hugest difference in her life for her to become the United States Treasurer. I mean, that's, as a Latina, that was incredible. And she has continued on this path and on the journey, and continues to this day. She speaks all the time to encourage other students to, stay in school and find that career path, and that you'll be able to do more for your family. And I think within our programs, so when we're working with the students, we use that familia approach, where it's just a little small group session. And a lot of times everyone's from a different country, and sometimes they don't even know what the differences within each other. And we talk about those things and traditions, and along with the leadership lessons. And then we'll even try to incorporate some bilingual mindfulness and yoga. So these are like some tools to give them. So when the one school I remember we were working at, the students were having some challenges with other students, and it was a middle school and they were jumping each other in the halls. It was not a good situation. It was a rough situation. And so by introducing the mindfulness and the yoga, it gave them a tool to de-stress. And so we all have a lot of stress, and students have tons of stress on them on so many different levels. And this was a tool to help them to be able to calm down. It gave them some focusing techniques that they could use within the classroom. And I remember the one counselor saying that several of the students would come in like during a little bit of a break and say, I'm just going to do my mindfulness right now. I just need a quiet space. And they would come in the office and just take a minute. And, you know, these were things I think that different tools that helped the schools. So, you know, for, I think, helping them to know they have this tool bag of leadership skill sets through the leadership lessons. There's so many things out there that can help them, but they don't know what they don't know. So it's just trying to showcase what is available and what opportunities available. And even going to college is such a scary experience. We take the students on the college tours, and we'll get them on campus. And then during COVID, we did it all virtually, and it still worked out really cool and good. And but some of the students came up to me and said, oh, I can't go on the college tour. I don't belong there. And we were at University of Richmond campus, and one boy came up, he said, I don't belong here. And he goes, I'm actually older than these kids, but my English is so bad. I'm still trying to be able to graduate from high school and get that degree. And you know, and it was just like, no, you do belong here, and you do have the potential, and you know, you can come to college here, and you can experience and increase your growth. And so I think having like educational resources like that with this for the students and the parents, because the parents have a hard time navigating sometimes, and especially with scholarships and financial aid. And so, you know, making sure that they have a set of tools and support behind them makes the biggest difference.
That's really powerful. Thank you for that. I can see how, you know, you're talking about these unique challenges, but it seems that what your programs are doing is really turning these challenges into opportunities and coming up with creative ways. I love this idea of the small group session and the Todo for Mi Familia and those types of things, and kind of bringing that into the way that you do the work that you do. Rebecca, have you seen any kind of unique or interesting creative ways for people to kind of take those unique disparities or challenges and kind of flip them and turn them into opportunities?
Good question. Let me think about that one. So unique opportunities to be able to get these kids engaged. Well, I can tell you that for our Latina Labs, which is our STEM program, what we try to do is we try to get these pretty creative ways of doing these little science activities. They actually have like these cocachinas bug. I actually didn't even know what that was until that program. It's just trying to actually put a little bit of the Latino culture in it, and then also, you know, the actual, you know, science behind it, right? So it's just trying to get the kids kind of engaged, and then just kind of giving them exposure. I think that one of the things that that we like to do is definitely just trying to, you know, listen, right? Listen from, you know, where they are, and then helping them navigate to where they want to be, right? Because what Lisa was saying is that she was talking about the power of mentoring, right? Is having that relatableness with, you know, the students, and then with the mentors. Yeah.
That's really helpful. Well, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the rest of you all to see if any of you have any questions for our panelists. You can either go ahead and, you know, just come off mute, or you can put your question in the chat.
I have a question. I work at a school that is about 50% Latinx, and a lot of times the kids are bilingual, so they can speak Spanish and English, but the parents mostly speak Spanish. I was wondering if you guys had any suggestions on how to kind of go through the application process. The parents have to sign off and consent, and it's been hard to find a way to like translate that application to Spanish where like the parents can get it and completely understand it and fill it out. If we did that, then they would be replying in Spanish, and I would have, I know very little Spanish. So, I would have a hard time kind of translating that. So I'm just wondering if you guys, is there like a service or like a volunteer service or something that might be able to help with something like that?
I think that's where it'd be good to get the school to partner with somebody who can get you those people to be able to translate, because that's actually one of the biggest struggles that we have. It's intimidating to be able to fill out a form that you have no idea what you're filling out. You have no idea what you're committing yourselves to. But this is one of the struggles that we have, is that if you don't have the access to these bilingual, I would say teachers or counselors or someone who's easily able to translate, it's difficult. I can go back and do some research on what partnerships you guys could work with, and then I can send you a note.
Yeah, I totally agree with Rebecca. It's like finding people to partner with. I know we get this a lot. We've offered for the educators, we have the educators Spanish and language and cultural training programming. So that helps the teachers be able to connect with their students and the families that they're serving better, and they're able to learn some Spanish and kind of be able to go through some things. But hiring within the community is what's really important. So I know I always try to refer people. We have through the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Trabaja VA, and so if there is a position that's available to get someone bilingual on the staff, because that really does make a good first impressions, and especially at the office. I think the office is like the central hub. And so when some of the parents are coming in and their English might not be so good, and they are all trying to learn their English. They're here. It's do or die. They are trying, I know, and their confidence level might not be there. And that's okay, because you feel that when you're trying to take a Spanish class and you're trying to learn Spanish, and then you kind of have that, okay, this is what someone might feel like. So I think that's always important, to have that person there right in the office that can be welcoming and can speak some sort of Spanish to people coming in. And yes, visuals, training with visuals, having, more visuals is a good way, to do it to the best of your ability. But I understand what you're saying. You have an application, getting the main questions at least in Spanish, and then trying to get your application to where it's simple enough that you could understand it and not so complicated. So, I think we've trained a lot of different like hospitals like Bon Secours, so that anybody coming into that hospital coming in would be able to be greeted, feel comforted within their own language by the nurses, by the volunteers, by the accounting, just so I think getting training and education and hiring.
That's great. I see that Molly has posted something in the chat here.
Yes, GRASP is fabulous. We partnered with them, and they helped with navigating the FAFSA form in Spanish for the students. So I highly recommend GRASP for a lot of that. They're very good partners.
Thank you for that. Molly, I actually have a follow-up question to that. So is it the resources themselves or the FAFSA form. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Actually, so yeah, so the FAFSA and the VASA, which is the VASA is what Virginia developed when they opened in-state tuition to the undocumented students who cannot fill out the FAFSA. So they do that, but yeah, as far as anything else, Conchi is always their bilingual advisor is always willing to go above and beyond. I was with her on Saturday and we were having a conversation about one of my I don't know, stumbling blocks. One of my things is that I don't think we all know what services are out there. I think that we can do deep dives and try and locate, what services are out there, but it's hard. And she is always willing. I had questions about things and she went and did research and she sent me like 3 emails already early this week, just with, hey, check this out for your girls. Cause my program is targeted at Latina high schoolers. And so yeah, that's, so they do, it's financial aid, but they are also, I've never had an issue where they're not always willing to go above and beyond.
Thank you for saying more about that. Any more questions?
You're muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I just said thank you for saying more about that, and I wanted to open it up for any more questions or comments from Rebecca.
So Molly, when you say that, it's very true. Again, that's one of the struggles that we have is knowing where the resources are. And this is again where, I love, Mentor Virginia is a good partner, right? To connect, give access to like different other partners and see where there's some synergies, see where we can, because honestly, the stats of Latinos graduation rate is so low that we need a lot of kind of all hands on deck. We need to have a lot more access to, these opportunities, and they're out there. Yeah, but it is, it is research. It is having to go figure things out. And so I tease Gabby, she's on this call, she's our co-chair, that, I am a serial learner, right? I love learning. I love learning and then using it to figure out, how to puzzle piece things together. But so I always try to say that if I can share my knowledge with someone else to be able to give them these kind of access, I'm all about it. But you're right, Molly, it's a struggle. I think even the FAFSA in English, reading in English is hard, let alone in Spanish.
Parent of 4.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
3 times and we're headed to our 4th time. And my heart goes out to these people who have to navigate this in a language that's not theirs.
I gotta say, I had to do it. It was just, it's such a challenging thing to do when you know English. Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a Latina student that she was so upset that she had to fill this form out and do this. And this was many years ago. And she came into the office and her parents came in and she was kind of angry because they weren't able to help her, like they weren't able to do it and she had to do it. And they did not speak English and she was kind of talking a little smack, with them right there. And I just had to say, give your parents like a 2 thumbs up. They got their taxes done. Okay. And we're able to sit here together and you and I are going to navigate this. And I'm going to show you how to do this. And I had to do this with my own kids to teach, them. We did it together. And guess what? Now you'll be able to help somebody else. You'll be able to help someone else with this. And you'll have the confidence because you did it. Okay. And so then she calmed down and then she made it through. But it's a high level of a frustration. I think that does exist. And I know whenever we have held with GRASP, some back a while ago where we would all get together and we'd have the parents and the students come and present the whole navigating the FAFSA form in Spanish. And so that the parents could understand what is involved. And you know, and it's hard. It is a really hard thing, but I remember that specifically. And so you know, I always think about that girl and always think, yes, I hope she's paying it forward for everything that we did together, and for her to try to, you know, navigate that and step up and just do it.
Yeah, I think so. I used to work many years ago back at Montgomery College in Maryland at the financial aid. So I know what it's like to go through the form. I know what it's like. And so I remember going through, like, I'm like, oh my God, this is, so I had an advantage because I actually was a part of it. So I could, know what, I need to ask, because if you miss one or two things, they will kick it back. And then it's like, it's frustrating going back and forth. But yeah, no, it's definitely, and then it's also too, it's just Lisa, you also hit it, head on, where, it's frustrating, right? It's imagine you're already kind of going on a leap end of trying to do something that no one's ever done before. And so trying to get them, like, it's okay, it's not only you, it's a whole bunch of other people who are going through this. And it's just having that, let's take a step back. Let's see what we've accomplished, to see what we've done. We'll get through it. Somebody will help us. Somebody will be able to say, how can I answer this? Or how can I, do this? So yeah, this is why I'm very happy to do these kind of calls, because, partnering with other folks is, it's key.
I know for me, hearing about this is making me think about, what I can do with my skill set to kind of aid in this process, right? Alleviate some of these disparities. And I'm sure that that's true for a lot of us. I want to keep it open, maybe about 5 more minutes for questions or comments before we begin to wrap up. Any other questions, comments? And Molly, thank you for jumping in. That's really helpful. Yeah, let's give it about 5 more minutes or so, and then we'll wrap up.
Hi there, this is Gabriella. So I got kicked out, so I'm sorry if I missed anything, but I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about kind of why I joined Latinas Leading Tomorrow. So I have a daughter, and we are from the Northern Virginia area. So she went to Hope High School, and and went to Hunter's Woods, and then what was the middle school? Rachel Carson, I'm sorry. And so I felt like she didn't really have a community being in like the advanced placement program. And so I was always searching for a program for her just so she can find community. And that's how I found Latinas Leading Tomorrow. And I think in general, I think the message is that there is a lot of opportunity out there, but our girls and our parents do not have access to it, and they don't know to look for it, or to really seek out for it, and just the possibilities. So I just wanted to share that, because I think it's just kind of resonating with what everyone was sharing.
Thank you for jumping in and sharing that. Anyone else?
I'll say one other thing too, that I don't remember who was saying this, but about paying it forward. Lisa, I think it was you talking about paying it forward. That's one of the things that I think that I'm at that phase of my life where I feel like, I want to be able to help somebody not struggle with the struggles I had. Everyone's gonna have a lesson learned, right? But don't make the mistakes I did. Let me teach you what I know, so you can at least have a head start. But I think that that's one of the things that I think that we all should do a little bit of, it's just paying that forward. I mean, we would be, especially with the youth. I mean, they're our future, right? Invest in them, we're going to have a better future.
I know how when you start working within the schools and you get to know the kids and the families, and what came up recently was a lot of the students weren't going to the dentist, and addressing the health issue. has become important, and what they're eating for lunch. That was another piece that we started to incorporate more. So I connected with this local dentist, and he is offering free dental cleanings in checking the teeth of the students now 4 times a year. And so we've been able to we did the first 2 dental clinics with the students. And it's something that just bringing this to the attention of the parents and the students on, okay, oh, I have to take care of myself. I have to do my self-care. You know, that's equally as important as just going to school, you know, every day, and thinking about what I'm eating and what I'm putting into my body and what my body needs for energy. Like there were things, I think, when we started the program that wasn't like a big focus. That was just the leadership lessons and getting them to think, you know, that what's possible and what their future could hold, and you know, and to dream bigger. But then now it's even come down to more of these sort of things as we've worked with the students more and more. And the dental clinic has just been really a cool thing to introduce into the program.
That's really good. Sarah, did you have a question?
I did. As we're, and I, this might be a bit of a pivot from our current topics. If anybody wants to jump on that bandwagon before I steer the ship in another direction, please do. But my question is, so, you know, Hispanic communities and Hispanic culture is not a monolith. I think we said that at some point earlier in this call already, but I'm curious if both of you have examples of how your program is able to celebrate the variety of cultures that exist even within, you know, the students that you're working with, who might have families coming from a variety of different countries, or, you know, have their heritage in a variety of different kind of places with their own traditions. So how do you honor that and elevate that in your programs?
Well, we've had where during Christmas, we've all talked about like the different, what everyone does during Christmas, you know, as a tradition. When we've introduced like the 3 Kings, and, you know, we've talked about that, how the 3 Kings, you know, come on January the 6th, and several of the countries have that tradition, and some do, some don't. It's been really cute to listen to the kids talk about what they do, you know, maybe a little differently. And I know with like Las Posadas is with the Mexican culture very popular, and so we even did like a mini posada one time, and kind of showed what that looked like. And so we tried to get them to talk to each other, you know, about it, as we would have, you know, plan a little fiesta around the different holidays.
Yeah, I would say similar. We have, you know, community activities where, you know, the kids share, you know, the different uniqueness to each of them. So Sarah, you actually kind of hit an interesting topic, because even though, you know, we have, you know, folks from Central America, South America, there's still, you know, little differences between us. You know, you know, we all speak Spanish, but there's sometimes a little bit of a difference of translation of, you know, what is an etiquette for one place versus another. I remember learning this as a kid, where I would say certain things and I was offensive to someone, not knowing, right? Because that's, you know, I didn't know. And so you kind of learn those type of things, you know, as you start becoming culturally aware. So it's interesting. We all speak Spanish, and, you know, we're, you know, neighboring countries, but there's still uniqueness to each of us, you know, to where, you know, where we are.
Yeah, what we did, 2 of the elementary schools, we did for his, you know, Hispanic Heritage Month. We had a Hispanic Heritage Month parade, and all the Latino students, they were talked about that they had their country. They all, you know, did a project, and then they came. It was the one Friday dressed in, if they had something, that was the traditional dress of their country, and we had like a little parade with everyone, and it was so cool because we had more students from Guatemala that we ever imagined at the one school. So it was like, wow. And so that was kind of cool. And they got to, see each other's projects. And then similarly, we did at another elementary school. It's kind of like a little cultural fair that we had, and we had each of the countries, and then all the students in the school were able to come around and learn a little bit. And then the kids that were from that country talked a little bit about their country. So just, I think, bringing ways to bring everyone together so that everyone can see how similar you really are, but yet you have, your uniqueness, and celebrate that.
That's just awesome. That was a great question, Sarah. I was trying to get at that in the beginning, so I'm so glad you came back and brought that up towards the end. I appreciate that. This has been incredible. Molly in the chat is asking for email addresses, so if you all could post those in the chat.
And we also, in the registration form, we did ask everybody who's comfortable sharing, so we can also send a spreadsheet and a follow-up email with anybody who said yes to that. I think that'll take care of that, Molly.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Well, I've been extremely, I have a lot to think about. I think the ways that you all have communicated the diversity and how we celebrate that. You've brought up some of the unique disparities, but how those can become opportunities for us. And I think as our programs think about engaging and having culturally relevant engagement in the Latinx community, I think, we can really just begin to think about how we identify and alleviate these barriers to either access or, holistic well-being, to education. And so I am not bilingual yet, but that doesn't mean that I can't think about how I can use my networks, how I can use my skill set to begin to kind of think through how to alleviate access. So thank you all for doing that and for lifting up some of these things and for representing this community in a way that we can all kind of partner together. And so with that said, I'm going to toss it back over to Sarah to close us out. Really, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Denise. So I'm going to share my screen very briefly with just a final couple of announcements. I just dropped in the chat our survey, so please do let us know how the session was, what you want to talk about in the future, especially as we're about to approach somehow. I don't know how it's going to be a new year coming up before we know it, but as we approach that time, we'll start to plan for next year. And so we'll be taking a close look at any of the survey information that you all provide to us. So for our next Community Coffee Hour, we're very excited. We have been able to book a couple of speakers who are actually doing a very similar session to this at the National Mentoring Summit in January. So especially if you're not going to be able to attend the National Mentoring Summit, this is a way to kind of get a free peek at one of the workshop topics. But we will be joined by a couple of guest speakers who have been doing a lot of work in how to implement cognitive behavioral strategies into mentoring programs. So it's a topic we've really never discussed before, so we're really excited about that. And if you notice, it is on the second Wednesday as usual, but it's from 10 to 11 instead of 9. And that is because one of our guest speakers is joining us from San Francisco, and we didn't want her to get up at 5 in the morning in order to be with us. So we'll send more information about this coffee hour soon, and you'll be able to register for that. There is a really exciting new resource coming. Critical Mentoring has been a book that's been available in the field for many years now, but we're finally getting a supplement to the Elements of Effective Practice that is focused on how to apply critical mentoring concepts into mentoring programs. So this is a huge moment for the field and a huge new resource for us. So there is going to be tomorrow, actually, kind of an introduction to this new resource and how your program might be able to utilize it, kind of what it is, what concepts it is talking about. And then I believe that they're going to be releasing the link to that new resource as well. So it's very exciting if you have the ability to join that meeting. There are a couple of upcoming training opportunities. We have everything listed on the events page of our website. There is a webinar series every single month, the third Thursday from 1 to 2:15. And we also do our new mentor training the second Tuesday of every month. And programs can send up to 3 of their folks to each of those trainings at no cost. So keep those opportunities in mind. And the last thing that I will say is that we are in a brand new grant cycle for our no-cost technical assistance program. So we have all of these amazing folks who are on our team and ready to work with any mentoring program who could utilize their skills to make enhancements for their program. And we also have a mental health professional who has joined our team and is able to specifically dig into some of those topics and how programs can really enhance their work in the mental health space as well. So very exciting. If you need any more information about that, I would be happy to provide that. And with that, we are going to thank both of our speakers, Lisa and Rebecca. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This was a wonderful conversation. We look forward to continuing this conversation in various forms as we continue to kind of move forward in our work together. And we very much are looking forward to seeing you all in a few weeks for our next coffee hour. Thank you all so much. We will see you soon.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, thank you.